Hey, it's Zeph, and welcome back to Barbpaints within the planet of legend in Dwarf Fortress. We have much to do today, so let's not dawdle. First off, something that I realized before when designing the last fortress is that doors are not the safest things to use to protect an entryway. However, drawbridges are. They cannot as simply be walked through, making them a great choice for defense. So I made one and created a rinky-dink control room, put a lever in it, and that was that. Next up, I decided that a secondary archery range made sense to be made for the whole 0 archers we had. And also a hallway that would lead to a future tower for said 0 archers. Future-proofing, you know? Ooh, an elven trader. I wonder what I could... Okay. I guess they came all this way for nothing then. Anyway, now as you all may have seen on my channel, we did a poll a bit ago with 5 choices. A tavern, bathhouse, grand hall, art installation, or a dungeon. The reason for the poll was to decide on what to build in this here hole. The votes were in. The tavern, grand hall, and arts installation were the least voted for. The dungeon and the bathhouse were the top choices. The final verdict? A bathhouse. I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of hoping for a dungeon or art installation, but those will be made in another area. Or maybe I could build it just a little further down, below this, or maybe above. Anyway, so I started laying the foundation for the bathhouse, and then realized we would have to build it in steps. So that's nice. I then extended the quarters for my dwarves, went back to laying more foundation, and then... Oh no. No, God! No. Oh boy. Who knew we'd be getting visited by a potential patron of the Ugly Onion? I was as shocked as you all might be now. Out of all the possible werebeasts, yet again, a were-elephant stomped its way into our fortress area. The panic I was currently in could easily launch everyone nearby into hysteria. So I immediately got the sabers into attacking position and closed the gates. I was not about to have the same situation happen this time. So, apparently, after killing a few people, the were-elephant left. Their bloodlust must have been satiated enough for that alone. So, yeah. After a little bit of making sure everything was okay, I opened the gates back up, and we continued on. Back to building, I guess. So the extension of the quarters was not going to plan. It appeared that I was digging basically directly under the river above, which meant that I would have some water issues if I continued doing so. So I patched that up a little bit, and then I started working on a giant guild area, which would also house a few grand halls for more esteemed meetings. Above ground, I had placed a drawbridge for the animal pen so that our animals and steeds would be safe. To make it easier for us, though, I had built a small passageway to get to the gate lever easier. Oh, how wonderful. So, conveniently, goblins decided to try and steal the children right as I built the passageway. Unlucky for them, because of where the passage leads, they ran right into a hall full of dwarves and started to get beat down. One tried to flee, but that was when our animals pounced onto them, not letting them leave. A lesson was hopefully learned by anyone who wanted to try that again. After that charade, I created yet another squad, this time an archer squad, that I would put into the tower for defense. The name of the squadron was actually not that fitting, but funny in a way. The Unswerving Smiths. Nothing to do with smithing, except for possibly the smithing of the crossbows, but unswerving kind of fits. Because, like, I want an unswerving volley of bolts and arrows from these cool guys. So, cool, I guess. Remember the cages I had placed on the outskirts of our fortress entrance? Well, they had actually caught a few YAKS. Me not understanding how taming works, decided that I should just release them instantly into the pen, filled with all of the other animals. This, to say the least, did not end well. For the YAKS, of course. Because remember the war elephant? Yeah, he kicked the YAKS in the neck and caused it to explode. So yeah, I think I like having elephants as a war animal. Let's hope we get more in the future, please. While that situation was coming to an obvious conclusion, I made a barracks for the magical sabers. Next up, I realized my whole idea for a grand guild area was foiled by, you guessed it, water. So I said, alright, fine. Here's a few small rooms for future guilds. The first of which was the Farmers Guild. Alright, let's be honest. The tavern was kinda lackluster and was a bit claustrophobic. So, I decided that an extension was needed. I also had an idea of, instead of it just being a regular tavern, how about I turn it into an inn? That's for the future, though. Back to the tower I was speaking of before. It clearly needed to be taller and better, so I cut out a few bits of the mountain and built a little bit more height onto it. Back down below ground, I wanted to start mining some of that deeper ore we found in the caverns, and set plans for a huge excavation. Oh, a caravan. Again? Alright, time flies. Oh, and it's dwarven this time. Much better. And they have plenty of creatures to buy. Soon enough, we're gonna have an entire zoo. That'd be a fun idea. Alright, now back down again. The bathhouse, it needs more work done on it, so I asked for a huge area to be floored, now that I had a sufficient center point. Then once again, I extended the mines, cause we all yearn for the mines. Welcome to another entry into the Artefact Grandeur display. Today, we have 3 more wonderful artifacts to show off, starting with Luzat Fubig Aban Matsang, Rubbed Stutter, the Cradle Jump, a beautiful wooden armor stand with intricate detailings of laboring dwarves within the beginnings of Barbpaints. To call the start of our fortress of Barbpaints a cradle jump would be an elegant way to put it. But to acknowledge the issues we've had so far, our stutters, you could say, is to put it even more elegant. Next up is Edanokam, the stirred consideration. A truly beautiful mug, or perhaps glass. Its name could detail many things, but we believe it details our decision-making throughout this journey here. Stirred consideration could refer to the archaic nature we find ourselves in at times, while still needing to consider our options with going forward through the toil and trouble. And finally, we have Rash Kuthdeng, the death of accidents. A stupendous door that tells a somber story within its name. The death it could be referring to is that of one done by the accidents it causes. For instance, the door could be opened with great haste and accidentally slam into a dwarf. This could escalate to a battle between the dwarves, which would lead to a possible death. That concludes this Artefact Grandeur display. So it'd seem those yaks from before that I put in the pen, some of them actually got into the fortress. While some of them died quickly after being let loose, some actually ended up roaming the halls like some kind of animatronic. So quickly, they were put down. Next, I wanted to extend the noble quarters, as I expected more nobles to soon take over positions. At this point, I also noticed an elven dancer fighting outside, and looked to see what was happening. And I gotta hand it to those elves. They have some funny names for their weapons. This one named its weapon Muffin. Only the night knows afterwards. Which Sounds like a great name for a concoction to knock someone out. Yeah, can I get a only the night knows afterward? Anyway, so while I was trying to figure out how scheduling works for the squads, I saw that a cave crocodile had seemingly crawled its way through the well, and was causing a bit of issues. It was quickly dispatched, and I didn't do anything else. Because hey, maybe little Johnny might return back home with a bucket of water, or maybe he might not. Could he have been ate by a water well croc? Well, maybe you shouldn't ask these questions. So the bathhouse was coming along nicely. I ordered the construction of some of its walls and more floor. Then I got to work on yet another barracks, this time for the archers that I now had. Oh, looky there. More goblins. Come on, gang. Let's beat them to death and not use our weapons. Yeah, these dwarves do not mess about when it comes to goblin snatchers. A little after this, a fox decided to try and mess with our animals and got kicked in the skull by the elephant, and well, you know by now what happens when that occurs. After fixing up the tower a little bit and smoothing a few things here and there, I then tried extending the quarters once again. I also had the idea of making a library because I thought it might be pretty cool to have shared knowledge between the dwarves. Next, here's yet another quick update on the bathhouse situation. Yeah, it's coming along. But now for the cool thing. I finally figured out how to tame animals. Kinda. As you can see here, just ask for a tamer to be put on a caged animal, and there you go. Wow, it took me this long to figure that out. I'm so good at this game! After tidying up both the tower and the tavern, I placed the actual library designation and also a few doors. Went up to the barracks and finished the storage area for the weapons and armor, and then, finally, paved the hallways for the fortress, because having fungal floors probably leads to fungal feet. Oh look, the first mayor has been elected, and who else better as a dwarven mayor than a brewer? So, with him wanting a true noble establishment, I worked on prettying up one of the noble estates. Then, right after, a surgeon of mine was found dead. Then, what looked like a demon came to visit the tavern. The name of it was a little saddening, but hey, all are welcome to the tavern. Next on the list of to-dos was to fix up the entrance of the animal pen, because I'm tired of goblins and other creatures just waltzing in like they own the place. A caravan also arrived, so I started to... Alright, well, looks like we are in a slight predicament. As always, I closed the gates, got my dwarves in attack mode, and looked for a beast that, just like the last one, somehow just disappeared. But it turns out, our broker thought himself tough enough to take the venomous Tundra Titan on by himself at the bottom of our pond. This obviously did not go well for him, as he was kicked once in the leg, and well, as is tradition, it exploded. So after the Titan did that, it wandered its way to the pen entrance and stomped another dwarf. The magical sabers then made their way to the pen to prepare for an all-out assault. The gate was then opened, and the battle was swift. To say the Titan lost is an understatement. He was creamed. Absolutely bruleed. We're talking stabs, hacks, punches, and bites. We, however, did lose the broker, and that made me quite sad, so I replaced him with the mayor. Speaking of the mayor, I needed to furnish his dwellings. Then I furnished the library, added a rooms area to the now inn, and placed a floor to it as... What? Why did everything just go black? Is this the afterlife? Oh, no, it just crashed. Alright then. Well, I see. When was the last time we saved? Oh yeah, a little before the Titan attack. So with this time shift, I knew I could prevent some deaths. Yes, that's right, we are going to pull some real Final Destination levels of tomfoolery. I paused the game, queued up some furnishings of the library, built out a slightly better designed room area for the inn, then once again, the surgeon was found dead, dehydrated. Oops, I forgot about that one. The caravan, though, arrived, which was around the same time the Titan attacked last time. So, I got everyone into the fort beforehand. Then I prepared my dwarves and furnished the inn a little bit. Ah, so it's going to be different this time. Okay, a Cyclops. Unlucky for Emily the Tan, I was determined to keep not only the new caravan safe, but also everyone else. So, the Sabers marched toward the Cyclops and ran it down. But what's a little unsettling is that even after the Cyclops gave in to the pain, the Sabers kept beating it down, and at some point even a child joined in on the fun. Yeah, so after that slightly unsettling encounter, we had almost fully corrected the timeline. Next I had to finish the library, furnish the mayor's estate, and do a wonderful trade with the elves. I really wanted that grizzly bear. Maybe I should have let them die. Whatever. So after that, I added beds to the inn, and then went down to the bathhouse where I added a pond designation to hopefully fill the bath. I also started to work on the main floor where the central bath would lay. Ah, okay. So today is going to be fights galore. Well, now that the goblins were here, I decided that maybe it was a great time to test the unswerving smiths, and place them in the tower. Then I got the sabers and told them to position in the pen. And what? How did the archers get out from the tower? Oh, the corner. I see. So, the fight was a little funny, as the bow dwarves, instead of using their crossbows in a long-range engagement, instead used them as makeshift melee weapons, beating the goblins against the head and neck, causing irreparable damage to their bones. But because of the lack of caution, we lost 4 dwarfs. So yeah. Success though, I guess. Just not the way I wanted them to be tested first. So after that spectacle, I went down to the bathhouse and added ramps to make the bath actually work. Now, obviously, the bathhouse needs more water, so hopefully next time, we can finish it completely. As a final thing though, mysteriously, a scroll was found in the center of the inn, and the name of it, It All Begins with the Dwarf. It details the journey of a human under the apprenticeship of a dwarf, and that was a cool find. It really has a lot to say about our society. Anyway, this has been fun. We accomplished a ton this time, and I can only expect more to be accomplished next time. I hope you all have enjoyed, and I hope that you all are doing okay. I've been dealing with a bit myself, and I know a few friends of mine that too are dealing with troubled thoughts. Just know that things, they can get better. Many will say that it's not true, and I understand where those thoughts come from. It's hard to believe things can get better when you have dealt with so much, or that you just can't find a purpose for yourself. In time, things can work out for you, but you need sometimes to find something to occupy yourself with. I myself play games that bring me joy, but something that has helped me even more is making videos for you guys. Sharing a part of me to the world. It makes me happy to know there are others that like seeing what I make, what I do. And I try to show that I care for you guys too. I know this world is filled with a lot of bad, but things can get better. It might not, but why should I let that stop me or others from being happy? Or trying to be, at least. So, I try to be a reason for others to be happy. I try to make people laugh. Well, making myself laugh, because I'm obviously the funniest person I know. But just know that things will be hard. Things, however, can get better. I love you all. You all mean a lot to me. To see any of you go would be a heartbreak nonetheless. Keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm sorry for the somber end to the video. I wish you all the best. Stay safe. I love you all. And
now,
I'll see you.
how about drums? An instrument Everybody laughs.